This is your number one source for all things comics, movies, and pop culture. It's Geek Week with Chris and Nick.
You're tuned into Geek Week.
I'm Chris Natali.
And I'm Nick Rotundo.
To all those listening, thank you for joining our discussion.
And if you would like to hear any of our old episodes, be sure to check out our YouTube account, which is posted on our Facebook account at www.facebook.com/geekweek885.
And be sure to check out our Instagram account at geekweek885.
Now we bring you Dave's Picks of the Week. Dave is the owner of Comics on the Green in Scranton. If you are ever in the area, be sure to stop in. They have a great selection of back issues, graphic novels, action figures, and so much more. And, you know, it's coming up this weekend is Free Comic Book Day, so that's where we'll be heading.
He'll be open from 11 to about 4 or 5, so you guys should definitely stop in if you're in the area. So Dave's Picks of the Week, we're going to start off. It's actually great that this happened because this is really convenient. All new Guardians of the Galaxy #1. Dave said he really liked the creative team on this one. He hopes that fans give him a chance. It's written by Jerry Dugan and art by Aaron Kuder. It's a new era of cosmic adventure begins here. The Guardians of the Galaxy have taken off into space once more on their biggest and weirdest misadventures yet, kicking things off with the biggest heist they've ever tried. Wow. We join Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and company as they blast their way through the galaxy with the Peacekeepers of the Nova Corps hot on their tail. And once they find themselves caught in a war between the Collector and the Grandmaster, there will hardly be any time to explain why Groot can't grow any bigger, what Gamora is searching for, or why Drax has sworn off violence. But don't worry, we will, with a new twice-monthly schedule, all new Guardians of the Galaxy has space for all your Marvel cosmic needs.
I'm in.
Yeah, I would say that sounds pretty good, considering that Dave liked the creative team, and usually Dave's recommendations are spot on, so I definitely want to check this out, and I'm sure Katie would like to too, since she's a, Guardians fan here.
Hey, folks. Yeah, I literally just reread Cosmic Avengers today, so super excited.
Nick, do you want to give us our second pick there?
Sure. It is Croak #1 of 3 from Alterna Comics. The writer is Cody Andrew Sousa, and the artist is Francesco. Oh, geez, you're trying to mess with me, aren't you, Chris? Francisco Iaquinta? I'm going to go
and
with
various
that.
Other artists. Nick, get into this summary.
Yeah,
of that.
there we go. So in this pulse-pounding debut issue, a fun camping trip turns awry after 3 friends are forced deep into the woods. Lost, afraid, and alone, their worst nightmares have come to life. Printed on nostalgic newsprint with a glossy cover for only $1.50.
You can't beat a $1.50 comic, guys. You really
you can't.
They don't sell them like that anymore.
No, not at all. And the fact that it's on newsprint, I mean, that's kind of a throwback in itself.
It sounds interesting. It's a 3-issue miniseries, and you know how I like my miniseries. I like the compressed story into one, and yeah, I'm game for both those titles. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm game for both of those as well. I think Guardians is actually they have some sort of Guardians. I don't know if it's a preview or it's actually Guardians #1 for Free Comic Book Day this year.
I'm down. I think Dave gives out, lets you have 1 or 2 comics each.
Yeah, I think so. That or it's either. I thought it was 2 or 3, but either way, dude, I can't wait for Free Comic Book Day. That's going to be amazing. I love it going there. Ever since you showed me that place, dude.
Yeah. Well, as you heard before, Katie's with us. She's our special guest for our 25th show, our last show of the semester. And, Katie's a great friend of ours. She's also the news director here at WRKC. She does an awesome job, and we're glad to have her on. She's a huge fan of Guardians, and oh my gosh, I can't talk today. That's not like usual, but we can't wait to get into this conversation, really. So that's the topic, Guardians of the Galaxy. And in preparation for the movie coming out on Friday, we're going to bring you all you need to know about the Guardians, from origins to their new team and to where they are now. So, yeah. I guess we're going to get into some of the content. I got a lot of this information from Variant Comics, Jawin, which is Jason Inman, and some stuff on Marvel Wikipedia. So I think we got a lot of good content here, guys, and we're going to start off with the first appearance of the team of the Guardians, which was Marvel Superheroes number 18 from January 1969. They were created by Arnold Drake, who is the writer, and Gene Colan as the artist.
And these aren't the Guardians you're familiar with, especially if you're only familiar with the cinematic universe. So this one's interesting.
I completely agree. This team is consisting of members such as Vance Astro or Major Victory. He was found in suspended animation, like similar to Captain America. Charlie 27, a soldier from Jupiter. Yondu Yodonta, which he is actually in the movie and played by Michael Rooker. He's from the first planet ever colonized outside the sun's solar system. Then you have Martin X Tanaga. He's a crystal alien from Pluto. And keep in mind, this is a team from an alternate timeline from the 31st century, but they traveled to the 20th century to fight alongside other Marvel superheroes. So that's pretty much what that takes off. They also appear in other comic titles such as Marvel 2-in-1, issues number 4 and 5, and Giant Size Defenders, issue number 5.
Now, with that, I know I'm not spoiling anything at all. There's rumors that, that James Gunn has come out in interviews and said that, the team could change over the years. So we could be getting introduced to other Guardians that we haven't seen in the cinematic universe. So the fact that we're actually doing this and talking about the original Guardians, it helps, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially with Yondu's increased role in the Volume 2 of the film. I think it's going to be interesting if you know the backstory of Yondu, how he's one of the first people ever outside of Earth, which, if you're familiar with Cosmic Avengers, then that's a big deal. So,
which you just reread, from what I can remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will talk about that when we get on that topic.
But yes.
All right, so there are other heroes like Captain America, the Thing, and the Defenders that have helped the Guardians in their war against the reptilian alien species known as the Badoon. So in the early 90s, they starred in their comic title, Guardians of the Galaxy. This lasted for 62 issues until its cancellation with the 62nd issue in July of 1995.
And with that, that kind of brings us to the Guardians that we know today. I mean, the ones from the movie and what they're based off of. So the team from the movie first appeared in Annihilation Conquest number 6 from April 2008. The second volume of Guardians of the Galaxy was published in May 2008. Both were written by Dan Abnett and drawn by Andy Lanning. At this time, this specific team is not even 10 years old. So, I mean, the people that you see in these movies, Peter Quill, all like Star-Lord, all these like people that you love, the people like Chris Pratt that have become these characters, they're not even 10 years old. I mean, you look at characters like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Spider-Man, the Hulk. Like, these things have been around forever.
I agree. Captain America, Spider-Man, the Hulk, Thor, characters like that. And then you look at the Guardians, and what's crazy is that this Guardians of the Galaxy is my top Marvel movie. And these guys, to know that when I found out that this team hasn't even been around for 10 years, I was like, that's insane. I mean, obviously the older team's been around since '69, but this team has been around since 2008, and that surprised me because I thought they would be a little bit older than that. And I really wanted to look more into this, and I did. Before I saw the movie, I actually I read the first 2 issues of Cosmic Avengers. There's issue 0.1 and issue number 1 I brought with me today, and they're pretty awesome. And I know Katie read the full graphic novel, which is great, and I'm sure Brian Michael Bendis does an awesome job with it. Just to get into their team a little bit more, the new team was formed by Peter Quill, a.k.a. Star-Lord. He's a human-alien cyborg hybrid, and the team consists of him and the following. So some of the team has not been shown in the movies yet, but maybe they will in this next movie. So the first one that comes up is Adam Warlock. He's a synthetic being created by human scientists called the Enclaves to become their ideal template for a new race of humans that would one day rule the world. He rebelled, turning against them, and went on to become Adam Warlock. We're going to get into somebody played by Dave Bautista, Drax the Destroyer. After him and his family were killed by Thanos, yeah, you heard that right. Him and his family were killed by Thanos. Arthur Douglas was recreated as an Eternal by Mentor and Kronos with the sole purpose of destroying Thanos. He is the father of Moondragon. I'm not sure if any of you guys know her. I didn't know this character when I first looked up this, but it sounded pretty cool. She's a Titan priestess and a former Avenger. I'm looking forward to the fight between him and Thanos, because there is one comic panel where he literally puts his fist through Thanos' chest. And that, to me, would be amazing on screen. I know kids probably wouldn't like it so much, but as an adult, I would really apprate it.
Oh, man, I think that was rad if I was a kid seeing that movie.
Yeah, and some kids would be like, Mommy, like, oh my God. Freaking out.
Moms and fathers holding their hands over the kids' eyes. Don't look.
Katie, why don't you get into the next one there? Because I know you like this one.
Gamora is by far my favorite woman in comic books. Character description, she was saved as a child by Thanos, and through his training she became a highly skilled and feared galactic assassin. Using her new formidable skills and abilities, she gained the reputation and the title as the deadliest woman in the universe. God, yes. Drax and Gamora first met when he targeted and destroyed her ship due to her relationship with Thanos. As Gamora was dying, Adam Warlock was able to take her soul into the Soul Gem. After this, Gamora discovered Thanos' obsession with death and his plan for stellar genocide and quit serving him. That's just such a dynamic character. I'm so glad that she's getting a lot of recognition in the Guardians films, because Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, they're always thrown to the side, and Gamora is allowed to be, a little BA on the screen. She can,
Zoe Saldana pulls it off.
Yeah, she kicks some butt majorly, and I feel like that's been excluded from females in a lot of movies, save Batman versus Superman.
And I will say this, James Gunn just came out and said he already started working on Guardians 3, the script for it, and he said it is very Gamora heavy.
Well, I'm sure Katie's looking forward to that. She's like, well, there goes my wallet, but I'm happy with it. So the next character we're going to get into is Quasar. Her name is Phyla-Vell. She's a genetic offspring or clone of Elysius of Titan and Captain Marvel of the Kree. She's an Eternal and Kree hybrid, which is intense. Like, her character coming to the screen would be, I don't even know. I don't know. It'd be awesome. I'd love to see it. The next one, you guys know him for his mouth, played by Bradley Cooper, Rocket Raccoon. So the description reads, genetically enhanced animal from a planet reserved for treating the mentally ill. Robots took care of the mentally ill on this planet, but when the robots became sentient, they decided that caring for the loonies was a waste of time, and they decided to genetically enhance the patient's animals instead. He is an expert in weaponry and is the strategist for the team. Him and Groot together are one of the best team-ups in comics, and I can't even agree more, because anytime I see them on screen together, I am a kid again, and it's great. I love it. I could watch that Guardians movie every day, and it's funny because my club's watching it tomorrow, and, I'm looking forward to it. And, since we talked about Groot, we're going to get into him next. He's an alien known as a Floral Colossus, which God, I love that term so much. He's from Planet X, which I have no idea, but that sounds cool anyway. Planet X, I don't even know. It just makes me wonder more about him. He possesses super strength and is used as a heavy assault trooper for their team. Groot, just to see him in this next movie and seen him in the movie before, he was just such a bamf, I'm going to say that. I'm not going to say what that means on here. You should just figure it out for yourself, but
Google
he's
that.
Awesome. The next character is going to be actually shown in Guardians 2 this Friday, Mantis. Her role on the team was more than just offering psychological support. After a terrorist attack by a team of Super Skrulls, Mantis telepathically nudged the team's members into accepting Peter's plans and joining them. So Mantis pretty much had a hand in bringing the team together, which I thought was awesome, because I didn't know much about her, and just knowing that she kind of, telepathically did this, I thought that was pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean...
And she looks like a funny character so far in the movie, so I'm very excited for that.
I just love Drax in all his scenes in the trailers.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me laugh every time. I can't handle it.
But the guy who's going to steal the show, let's be honest here, it's family man himself, Vin Diesel. I am Groot.
And continuing on, so most of the members famously appeared in the movie. They came out on August 1st, 2014, directed by James Gunn, as Nick said before. And the only, obviously members that haven't been in it yet were Adam Warlock, Quasar, and Mantis, Mantis is soon coming to the screen this Friday. So definitely go check that out, guys, because this movie is going to be one you don't want to miss. So, as I talked about before, my first experience, I was going to ask each of you what your first experience with this team was and how you got to know them. My first was reading Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 0.1 by Brian Michael Bendis and Steve McNiven. Steve McNiven is also the artist on Civil War, which is a great title, so you can't go wrong with his creative team here. It was released on February 27, 2013, and Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 1, which was released on March 27, 2013. And, these comics, like, just the covers themselves are worth it. Like, if I could show you the comics right now, just give me a second. So there's 0.1. You can see Peter Quill on the cover, and then him as a boy with a gun in his hand and like in front of the house. I think the covers are drawn beautifully. I like the designs. You could also see on the number 1 cover, you could see Iron Man in his God Killer suit, which I think is awesome. And we haven't seen him in that. But if I ever see Iron Man in the God Killer suit on screen with the Guardians, I might just like freak out.
Take all of my money.
I love their designs in this, and the art's beautiful, and I want to read more of the story and get to know them a little better. But yeah, guys, what are your first experiences with the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Well, Katie, why don't you go first?
Sure. Well, my first experience, if any of you know, I'm more of a casual comic book fan. I'm more into the cinematic universe. So my first experience with the Guardians of the Galaxy was actually the movie, the first Volume 1 Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And I just saw it, and I was so enchanted by its lightheartedness, by its comedy, and the way each character just has so much individual value. You feel like in the Avengers that, everyone is sort of overshadowed by Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, but that is just not the case in Guardians. Everyone has their own unique backstory, and I fell in love with that. So I picked up Cosmic Avengers, and I fell in love even more. Like Chris said, the art style is incredible, and Peter Quill's backstory that isn't really covered much in the movies is also incredible, and I think we're going to get into that a little bit later. So that was my first experience. How about you, Nick?
My first experience, I told Chris this story. It's hilarious. Wasn't it something I expected? So my first experience, like you, was with the first movie. As everyone, I'm sure, who listens religiously to Geek Week knows, I am a huge Marvel nut. Anything Marvel that comes out, I'm going to go watch it. So I go to see Guardians of the Galaxy with my buddy from back home, midnight release. And of course we get there and we're sitting there and we're watching the previews for the movie, and we're watching, and all of a sudden it's like a rated R movie. And I'm like, that's weird. Why would Marvel do something like that? Why would they like partner with a rated R movie to play as like their preview? Then another one is like a horror movie, and then another rated R movie. And I was like, wait, hold up a sec. Then all of a sudden James Brown walks onto the screen, and it's Get On Up. They messed up the tapes. So they sent all of us back out of the theater, switched out the film, and then brought us back in, and we watched Guardians. And I was, honestly, from there, I was sold. I was like, Chris Pratt knows what he's doing. This guy's hilarious. I'll watch him in pretty much anything. Bradley Cooper, I mean, come on. Vin Diesel, I mean, the cast is fantastic, and I just fell in love with the story. It was so lighthearted and funny, and the music, that's what really got me into it.
I got to agree there. Like that scene with, Quill walking through that desert-like area and going to find this, this silver ball with a stone in it, the gem, if you guys know of, and he grabs that lizard and starts singing into it. That, I laughed so hard. And just his entrance, Chris Pratt, okay, he's a great actor. I've seen him in Parks and Rec. He's fantastic. He's made me laugh so many times.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool because I watch the bloopers, and he makes all his other support as actors, and actresses that he works with laugh, and it's just fantastic to see that. And he's even went to hospitals and as Star-Lord and been in costume. And to me, clearly he's a good role model, good actor, and people should strive to be like him. And Peter Quill is an interesting character, to say the least. Just, it was heartbreaking to see his his origin in the movie, for you the guys that didn't see it, and just, it was, like Katie said before, there are a bunch of unique different characters. You got Gamora, you got Drax, you got Rocket Raccoon, you got Groot, and nobody outshines the other. Everybody has their own separate character development and screen time here, and it all comes together. And you got a villain like Ronan the Accuser, and you see Thanos on the screen, and it's such a like cool movie, different movie. Like people were expecting it to be good, but a lot of people like me were just blown away by it, and that's what makes it at the top of my list of Marvel movies, because it was just so different, like these misfits of the galaxy, and it was great. I loved their team dynamic and how they met and had to work togetter eventually, and still can't stand each other to this day, but they still call each other a family, which is awesome.
So yeah,
like WRKC.
Oh geez. So going into the second half of this talk of Guardians of the Galaxy, the main factor of this new movie is what? It's Star-Lord's father. Who is Star-Lord's father? Well, there's two different answers. In the movie, it's, Kurt Russell is playing Ego the Living Planet, but in the comics, it's completely different. We see in the comics, Jason or Jason of Spartax from the planet Spartax was the emperor of the Spartoi Empire and the father of Peter Quill, alias Star-Lord of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Jason was the only son of the previous emperor, Esson, and therefore was prince and sole heir to the throne, rejecting his idealism, and the ruling council of Minister prevented Jason from taking the throne. When Ronan the Accuser, of all people, of the Kree Empire, forced the Inhuman royal family to attempt to assassinate the Empress Lilandra, there we go, ruler of the neighboring Shi'ar Empire, during a wedding ceremony that would symbolically unite the Shi'ar and the Spartoi, Jason, who had been seen with the Inhumans, was accused of being part of the plot. For this, he was banished and deemed unworthy of the throne. However, Jason would later be summoned by his father when war broke out between the Spartoi and the Ariguans on his way back home. He was forced to crash land on Earth, where he fell in love with a human woman named Meredith Quill. The two began a short relationship before Jason was forced to leave to wage war for the Spartax. Wishing to shield Meredith from the pain of his departure, Jason erased her memories of him, without knowing that the two had conceived a child. So Meredith would later go on to give birth to her son and his son, Peter Quill, without him knowing. That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, considering all the names and how tough they were to pronounce.
Oh, of course.
Did you grab this from the Marvel Wiki page?
Yes,
where'd
I
you get
did.
this? Okay.
So shout
really
out to
cool,
Marvel Wiki.
But it's a lot. It is a lot to take in. There's so much going on there that I would need to look up a lot of the different, like the Council of Minister and things like that, just to know everything. I mean, I know the Inhumans. For those of you guys, I think you guys know the Inhumans, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of
Black Bolt, all those guys.
Medusa, yeah, all of. But that is pretty interesting. I think this is cool, but I kind of think the way they're going with it in the movie is going to be an interesting twist from what you told me about James Gunn and why he did it.
Yeah, which we'll get into in a little bit. Yeah, of course.
What you found something out that was really interesting that I didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah, neither did I. I was searching through Star-Lord's origins and his relationships and stuff like that, as well as his father's. Turns out Star-Lord actually has a sister, and it's Jason's illegitimate daughter. Victoria, otherwise known as Captain Victoria, it was the illegitimate daughter of Emperor Jason of Spartax. After spending most of her childhood hidden off-world, Victoria was brought to her father, who revealed her parentage and sent her to Star Harbor, the military school of Spartax, to prove her worth. As an adult, she became the commander of the Spartax Royal Guard. She followed the trail of her brother, Star-Lord. She wanted to bring Star-Lord to the bounty brokerage house of Count Bly. Count
Bly.
Yes, that.
Count Bly. Just say Count Bly. It's fine.
So she could use the money to help rebuild the Spartax Empire. However, Star-Lord, Peter Quill, convinced her to follow a plan which would prevent him from being captured and also help Spartax obtain even more money. So the guy's a thief, ended up even corrupting his sister, who was the leader of the Spartax army.
I mean, that's Star-Lord's thing.
I know.
He kind of weasels his way out of things, and that's kind of what people like about his character as well. Like, he can be serious at times, but when he needs to be, and he's in a tough situation, he knows how to get out of it, and he figures it out. So
Exactly. So, Katie, how do you feel? I don't know if you ever knew about this. Did you know about that Star-Lord had a sister?
I actually didn't. Not until I read the script last night, and I thought that was really interesting. And what my question is, what makes Victoria less legitimate than Peter Quill? Because Peter Quill was also an extramarital affair baby. If
Very
we're being
true.
real here, so that I don't know. That's
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I read, like, it didn't say that either Victoria or Peter became the next, like, ruler of Spartax. It never really went into that. And it never even said who, like, Victoria's mother was.
They probably didn't get much into it, considering this comic series has only been around for a while, and they probably didn't want to go in that route where he had a sister, because they probably want to keep the focus on him, because, like, marketing wise, like,
that's
he's
what
the
I'm
main
thinking.
he's the like the leader in the movie and everything. So I understand why they did that. I'm also, like, interested to, like, kind of understand why, like, she's illegitimate compared to him, because, like Katie said, that whole thing with his, like, parents and everything, and dad disappearing and all that. And
I mean, maybe Peter's considered an illegitimate son. I mean, I never really saw that. That's why. But yeah, no. So it was really interesting to read about that. I had no idea that he even had other, like, family members besides his father. So, but yeah. So now we're gonna get into who the movie version father is. So who is Ego the Living Planet? Chris, why don't you take who Ego is?
okay, so just doing some further research with this. Within the Black Galaxy, one mass developed differently from the others. Evolving over millions of years, it grew to the size of a planet and developed intelligence and consciousness, along with the ability to move its planet-sized mass by its own will. This planet became known as Ego, the Living Planet. In its evolution, Ego developed organ-like masses under its surface, one of which is similar to a brain. As all sentient beings, Ego began to plan what its role in the universe would be. I actually like this idea of him being Star-Lord's father more, because I think Ego sounds more interesting than his actual father does. I don't know if you heard more about his father in the comics. I don't know if he sounded more interesting to you, or what your views on that, Katie, but, kind of, what do you think?
I totally disagree, actually. I think having Jason as Star-Lord's father in the movies could just open up so many different intergalactic cultural ideas for the MCU, because the Spartax Empire and all of its empires that it wages war with and allies with. I mean, that includes Freya from Asgard, a lot of like the Badoon leaders. There's a Badoon Brotherhood and comically a Badoon Sisterhood, and they don't communicate. There's just so many, like, little tokens of culture in that, and I think for me especially, having sort of the absent parentage is relatable. Just from my personal story, I think it makes Peter Quill a really relatable character. It helps you take him more seriously, like less of a goof. Because he in the comic, he really had a tragic backstory. He didn't grow up with a father. His mother was shot before his eyes, and then he realized he realized he needed to get into space and find his father. And he found his father, and he's the king of a huge empire. And he's also thinking of words I can say on the radio, a not nice man. So
Okay, so from what you just made it sound like, I'd rather read the comic than actually see. Like, I'd rather go read Cosmic Avengers right now, because that sounds amazing. And like, I kind of like hearing you talk about it now. I'm kind of I agree with you that it would definitely open up more like cultural things in the intergalactic thing with the Badoon and things like that. And it'd be interesting to see what other societies, so to speak, are in the galaxy, like besides the Guardians and things like that. And it'd be interesting to see that. Like, you have the Nova Corps, but who else is around? That I agree with you on that, and I'd love to see more if they ever do spread it out in the future of the Guardians movies. Like, I'd like to see more different societies and how they would come into play. Like, we've seen the Kree, we've Ronan being one of them, and we've seen or we've heard of a. I forget. We heard of one. I can't think of it right now. But I do agree with you there, Katie. And I like I said, only read those first 2 issues. And I didn't really learn much from that. And I'm sure I don't know how long the actual series is of the Cosmic Avengers. Is like 4 or 5 issues maybe.
Yeah, as far as I know, there are 2 volumes out, and I think it amounts to 5 issues.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't hurt to pick those up because it's like that. Those like just 2 volumes, not really consistent. Where you have like in things like Injustice, where they're on like they have like 8 or 9 volumes, or like Batman or things like that, and it's hard to get into because there's so much to read. But yeah, definitely check that out, guys. It sounds really interesting to us. Nick, what are your thoughts on what Katie just said about Jason?
Yeah, I honestly like from reading like the wiki and then hearing what Katie had to say, I do think it would be a cooler, not a cooler story in the sense that like it had to be that. Why did they go this route? But more of like if they went that route, it still would have been just as cool because if they used Jason, then there's a lot of things that could have brought it to play, like Katie said. However, reading what James Gunn, why he chose Ego, I see why he strayed away from Jason of Spartax, but either or, I mean, I would have preferred either one. I'm an overall, geek nerd, so the reason that James Gunn gives for not choosing Jason still would have worked for me if he decided to do it. So I guess we'll go into that. So the reason he decided to, so originally, obviously it's Jason, but in Volume 2, Ego assumes the human form in the form of Kurt Russell. He's still a superpowered god. However, and that's a departure from the comics where Quill's father is Jason. And Gunn tells IO9, which is this article I read, saying that it was going to come out sooner or later. And I think one of the things I've impressed upon people early on is the identity of Quill's father is not the big stunner in this movie. I'm not leading it all to Darth Vader being Luke's father in the third act reveal. This is really about the relationship between Star-Lord and his father, who happens to be a living planet, and his other father, Yondu, who is an abusive jerk. It's about the dysfunctional family tirade that those three triad that those 3 characters have. That's the center of the movie. So he then says that I didn't like that in the comics Jason is a king, and he also reeked very much of Star Wars. So I didn't want that same sort of thing. I like the idea of Quill's father being an ancient, cosmic, incredibly powerful being who, just like Rocket, has problems connecting to other people because there's nothing else like him. This character has had a hard time connecting to other people because he's a god who's been alone for billions of years. So, I mean...
Well, yeah, he clearly liked the Ego style, like where, like, Katie said she prefers Jason, where like he liked Ego and he didn't like Jason. People are gonna have their own opinions, and since he's the director, he's gonna take his creative differences and go elsewhere. And clearly, he's doing that in this movie. And I'm open to it. I'm also open to reading the books as well because I'd like to develop my own opinion of the book and the movie. And I think I'm looking forward to both actually because I'd like to take a look at that. And we're going to see the movie on Saturday, so that's gonna be great. And yeah, man, I'm excited. This whole conversation has got Guardians on the brain for me, and
oh yeah,
a good time.
I mean,
I'm still super excited to see how Ego is gonna flesh out into Kurt Russell, and what opportunities and plot lines that we can get from that. It's just I don't know. I guess I'm a true comic book purist on this one issue.
But I mean, it all depends on the opinion and my thought process. Like, for example, the Russo brothers, when they took on Captain America to do Captain America Winter Soldier, they said, we hated Captain America as a kid. We thought he was a Boy Scout. There was nothing cool about him. We thought he was a nerd. So how can we make him cool? So they made it a darker movie, and they made him all these different martial arts styles, and they went out and they made him just BA, just amazing, and this crazy, crazy cool person. So, I mean, I guess that's in a sense why James Gunn went with, Ego over Jason. He had that idea of I didn't like Jason, so I want to do something different.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's completely okay because
Yeah,
he's the director.
as long as it
and,
works. I mean,
as long as you flesh out the
Right.
character and you give each character development, especially new ones that you bring in. I feel like in any movie, you bring in a character, you got to develop them right, flesh them out. Don't just throw them at somebody and expect them to like it immediately. You got to like really take care of the characters you bring to movies, regardless, because when people go into them, they may not know who they are. So you have to make sure you establish a good foundation before you move further. And that's how I believe all good characters should be. Like fleshed out from their origin, and from there, certain other characters can be thrown at you, and people don't take to that very well. So I'm hoping that Ego proves, just from what I've heard of him, proves as good, or whatever you want to call it. Not the good's the wrong word to use, but like just as a quality as he is, and like just from hearing about him, I hope it fits in this movie, and that's. I'm excited to see it, but also like cautious about it because I want it to be good, but I don't want to get my hopes up.
Exactly.
I have faith that it'll be good regardless. How good the first movie was and how much I love it, I doubt that they could do much wrong in the second.
Yeah, and with James Gunn behind the wheel,
Of course.
It's his baby. He doesn't want to, ruin that.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
So that leads to us to talking about, of course, more Guardians merchandising and, separate, like, different things going on with it. Branding, yeah. The Guardians Telltale series. So that just came out. They dropped the first episode. I watched Jacksepticeye play it recently, and I loved it, but I'm not going to spoil it for you two. So I will read the plot. Tell me what you guys think of the plot. So the plot for it is it centers on the Guardians finding an artifact of great power that each individually covet, but must protect it from a malicious entity that wants it for themselves.
Vague, mysterious, spooky. I love it.
Yeah, like I love that it doesn't give away anything, and you don't even know, you have no idea who the villain is or anything, so that's pretty cool.
I will say this: you play as Star-Lord. But you get to interact with your group members, the other Guardians.
Did you say group members or group members?
Group.
Okay.
But haha, very, very clever there. Very clever there, Chris.
Yeah, I try.
But yeah, no, like so. Groot's fully grown. They have Rocket. They have Drax. They have Gamora. And you can actually talk to each other with like this comm system, in like an earpiece almost. So that's how like you talk to each other and stuff. And you use this is the only spoiler I will say. Star-Lord, you get to use Star-Lord's rocket boots.
Well, yeah, that's pretty cool.
How would you say the gameplay compares to other Telltale games, Walking Dead, Batman?
Well, the graphics are completely different. It's not that like comic artwork anymore, like the Walking Dead and Batman and stuff like that. It's very actual. Like it looks 3D and more clean cut compared to like drawn, which I do like. They took a different approach to it and it worked out. But the gameplay for it and everything, it's fantastic. It plays just like any other Telltale. You have to walk around, click on different things, and interact with different objects and people. So, I mean, there's nice little Easter eggs in a bunch of different places, and I loved everything about it.
Well, I'm definitely going to download that and look forward to playing it because that sounds awesome. And, Telltale hasn't disappointed me before. I played The Wolf Among Us. I've played Batman Telltale. And I've yet to play Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, but I'm sure they're great. So
Season 1 will break your heart for Walking Dead, Telltale. I will say that.
I will also say that. And, as soon as I kick finals, I cannot wait to start this. The only Telltale game that I've really played is Walking Dead. But super, super excited to get in on this one. And Game of Thrones, I haven't had the money to buy the Game of Thrones Telltale series, but as soon as I do, that'll be next on my list, maybe this summer.
I just love the way Telltale does their games. Like, their story aspect is great.
Oh, yeah.
The choices you get to make in the dialogue and how they can affect what happens in the game. I love that. And, it just, to me, it's like playing through a graphic novel or something like that. And I love that feeling of it. And obviously being the big comic book nerd that I am, like, it's like cake to me. So I just keep eating more, I'll keep taking whatever Telltale throws out. And I'm really hoping Guardians is good. That's what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm. So one final question for you guys before we close out. If you had to, what would be on your personal awesome mixtape? We see that Guardians of the Galaxy, the movies center around these mixtapes that Peter Quill gets from his mother before she passes away. And it's all the music that she listened to and what she liked, all different genres. What would be on your personal awesome mixtape? Chris, why don't you start?
Pretty much anything by Michael Jackson, like his stuff. I love Smooth Criminal, Billie Jean, things like that. I just love when Baby Groot was dancing at the end of the movie, and to I think it was I can't remember the exact name of the
Jackson
song.
5.
Jackson 5. Yeah, I love any of that stuff is great, and I love that he was MJ was incorporated somehow because he's been an inspiration to me since I was like younger with dancing and stuff like that. So MJ is awesome and his music's quality. So.
All right, so
Katie, what do you got?
Katie.
2 words, Mr. Brightside. That is my anthem. I will jump on a table and scream it. When we were heading to New York a month ago, it came on the radio, and I almost blew out Sue's speakers. That's
great.
Mr. Brightside.
That'd be your go-to flying the Milano ship through space song.
Any day, yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, is there any other bands or songs that you put on there as well?
Yeah, I guess my music taste is kind of like depressing, so it's hard to get those bangers in there. But yeah, I'm sure if I went through my playlist. But Mr. Brightside is my definite go-to.
So for me, I think I'd probably go a lot of like old school stuff. Some Van Halen, Zeppelin. I throw in some Blink-182, Green Day, My Chemical Romance. I mean, the list goes on and on.
He really hasn't thought about this a lot.
Bruce Springsteen. I know it's music that I like, dude. I grew up with so much music that my parents gave to me, so like I feel like almost everything can work for me as long as it's classic rock or punk rock.
Hey man, whatever floats your boat.
2 more I thought of. Brown Sugar, Rolling Stones,
yes.
Touch Me, The Doors.
Yes. Both of those. Yes. All of my money.
Fair enough.
We're making our awesome mixtapes.
Top three, right there.
All right.
Well, before we close out, I'd like to actually, say thank you to Katie. And as a gift from us here at Geek Week, we'd like to give you some comics, and specifically to Guardians of the Galaxy. So just going to give you these on air because, I've showed them before.
And they are
the 2 that we talked about before, Guardians of the Galaxy #1 and Galaxy Guardians of the Galaxy 0.1, and one that I received on Free Comic Book Day, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not sure. I haven't read this one. There was also apparently a Guardians Team Up that I found in my collection, and Hawkeye's on the cover, so that's pretty cool. And, I just thought...
They're all for you, Kitty.
I feel like you'd appreciate them more than I would, and I just had to say a thank you for coming on our show and being our guest, and we really appreciate it. And you have helped us more than just being our guest. You've helped us with promos and things like that, so that's our thank you to you.
Exactly. Words right out of my mouth. I could not add on to that.
Holy crap, guys! I know this is an audio medium, but I am speechless. If there was a camera in this studio, you would see the look on my face. Oh my god.
We've got another comic book fan. We've hooked her.
See, I'm that comic book fan who, tries to unintentionally but also intentionally help my friends become comic book fans, because that's just the kind of guy that I am. And those are listening right now know that, my girlfriend included. She was a comic book fan when I met her, but she's an even bigger one now of like DC and things like that. And she's got me more into X-Men and stuff. So we help each other out, and I'm sure I've gotten Nick into some things as well.
Oh, sure.
So I do my best to do that, and I love comics, and Katie, I just thought you would really appreciate those because I was looking through my stuff and, I had to. If you guys can't see right now, and if there's a camera in here, it would show Katie hugging me And that was great. So seeing the look on your face was priceless.
Dude, Venom, man.
Yeah, Agent Venom's on the cover. Flash Thompson. Katie's just speechless. She's just staring at the
in the
covers
candy
now.
shop right now, and I don't blame her because I would be too.
No, I have to admit though, personally, I'll admit, Chris, you got me back into comics as well, because I remember when I first met you. Actually, the first time I met you was I was doing my Sunday show, doing The Walking Dead, talking about The Walking Dead on WRKC, and of course, you walk in during one of the music breaks, and you were telling me, yeah, you should join Comic Book Club. I'm starting it up. And then I got back, I joined, and then I got back into comics. I started collecting again, and you really got me thinking about like comics all over again, and I fell in love with the movies and everything, just all over again. So, Chris, throughout the past, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm old.
I think, actually, I started the club in 2015 with a few other members, and it's been going on for 2 years now, and it's going to keep going strong with the people that, we've elected as officers. And I'm still going to come into the meetings. I'll be an alumni, but, I don't care. I'm still going to be there because I love it.
But with that, Chris, thank you. I could not wish for a better friend throughout the past few years that we've known each other. So I thank you for that as well.
You too, man. You've been a good friend as well. Like, it's been a long journey for us both, and I'm glad we did Geek Week together, and it's been a ride. It really has. 25 shows. I can't even, saying that, just makes me think, wow, it feels like we started yesterday. I'm looking at, the audio files, and I'm like, wow, and, we went to New York, and, everything. It's just so much has happened.
Oh, my God, so much. And then now, even though that we are graduating, we're talking about possibly going to New York Comic-Con this year. This is never going to end. We're still going to be nerds at heart. We're still going to figure out ways to go do comic book and superhero and pop culture things together.
Always.
Of course. So with that, I will say this. Thank you all for joining us. Once again, this has been Geek Week with Chris and Nick.
I'm Chris Natali.
And I'm Nick Rotundo.
And that's Katie Pugh.
Sure is, buddy.
The awkwardness continues.
It's fine. It's cool.
Yes. I love it.
I love this atmosphere.
I just want to say you guys are both graduating. Thank you so much for being my friend. I know I'm the dumb, stupid freshman that kind of stumbled into WRKC's doors, but you guys took
completely wrong.
You guys took me under your wing, and you've become some of my best friends on this campus. So I know this will not be the last time that I see you guys, but I wish you every ounce of good luck in the world. I know you're going to stick with the comics. I know you're going to be something great in your careers. So with that, yeah.
Thank you, Katie.
Cue the music.
Well, once again, if you would like to hear any of our other our old episodes, be sure to check out our YouTube account, which is on our Facebook account, www.facebook.com/geekweek885. Be sure to like us on there, subscribe to our channel, and share with all your friends and family.
And be sure to check out our Instagram account at geekweek885.
So be sure to stay tuned for any future updates with Geek Week through our social media. This, as is going to hurt to say, but this is the last episode of the school year, and it's been an amazing experience, as we said before, that we'll never forget. New York City for the IBS Awards, videos, just constant, just berating each other with questions and just messing with each other. I'm going to miss it.
The berating questions is probably more Nick than me, but it's okay because I can handle it. And I'm smiling right now. If you can't tell, you probably can't, but it's okay.
But so with that, who knows? Maybe Geek Week can continue on WRKC after this. So until then, we'll see you soon. And cue the outro music as always.
That was Geek Week with Chris and Nick. Be sure to tune in next week at 6 p.m.